All right, ready.
Good.
Pass the
Do it.
Video views are coming, you are in luck. Take the algorithm and give it a little F. Video views are coming. Give it algorithm. Take the algorithm and give it a F.
Hello, chat.
darkness.
Can you see us? Can you hear us?
The darkness is overtaken.
Do I exist?
Here's a theme song.
Oh,
Hi,
this would be a
guys.
black-
Do we
After
exist? Can someone tell me if we
Oh,
exist?
hello.
Now we
Help us out
something
here.
just showed up on the screen now.
Oh,
so.
now we exist. Now I wonder. See how professional we are?
Somebody call Lucid Fox. Please help.
We need help, please.
Here we are.
Here we go.
Hi.
Are we?
I can't see the chat, but
I can't see either.
but pretend that
I
I'm there paying attention to you, I guess. Hello to anyone that said hello in perpetuity for the rest of the stream.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here to our second F the Algorithm stream. I am your host today, mainly Mandy, and we've got a whole bunch of awesome people with me. We got Little Hoots, we got Kaylin Conrad, we got Mika from Pondaful, we got Sarah and Neil from The Leftist Cooks, and our special guest today is Legal Kimchi. Say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
We are those people.
We hear those people. There's also a special appearance from my cat right there. That's Tantrum. He's just hanging out right now. Maybe he'll come over closer. We'll see.
Everybody say hi to Trauma.
Drama. His name's Tantrum, really.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So yeah, the whole purpose of this stream is that we're trying to F the algorithm. We want to help out other small creators who the algorithm sometimes isn't so nice to, people who should have bigger platforms and should have more of an audience, but maybe the algorithm isn't blessing them because of the kind of content they're covering, or a lot of marginalized people especially get unfortunately screwed over. So like the point of the stream is for us to come together and bring these smaller creators to each other and share their stuff with us and with you all, and hopefully give them a nice little boost. We have a playlist that we'll be going through, and what we'll do is we're going to show you about a few minutes of each video. And then what you all are going to do at home is that when you can, you're going to go over, you're going to subscribe to all these channels, you're going to watch the whole video, and you're going to comment in the comments section below, and you're going to help give them a nice boost. I do not understand the algorithm nearly as well as our lovely Sarah here, but she has explained to us that if a bunch of people go and watch only a certain part of a video, it can really screw up retention rates, and we don't want to do that. So the best way to help out everybody is to kind of follow along with us for now, but then afterwards you're going to use that playlist to go and individually subscribe and watch the full videos. Hopefully that makes sense.
It made perfect sense. I think I finally understood it.
Yes.
I explained something well enough for Kaylin to understand.
I'm like, oh my God, is that what we're doing here?
I think so. That's my understanding.
What a good idea.
I didn't even know I was hosting until a few hours ago, so I don't know how much that can be relied on.
No, even I'm like, that's way better than when I explained it last month. Like that would make sense.
It does? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
she was so concise.
I think that's
Me and
always
Cass-
been Mandy's skill, is the ability to put things into understandable terms.
Oh, thanks, everybody. I didn't expect this to be a let's all compliment mainly Mandy's stream, but I'm into it. Chat, do it. Do it below.
And you're looking especially pretty today, Mandy.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
I was
actually.
not to actually carry this on, but I love the lighter hair on you too.
Thanks.
The purple is good, but I love the blonde moment that we're getting.
Thanks, it's neglect. This is just what happens when I don't dye my hair for a while.
Not Faria
Really
neglect.
Yeah, it's a special color. It's called I haven't dyed my hair and I'm just lazy. So yeah.
We all could neglect ourselves and look so good.
I know, right?
I know.
That is not what happens to me.
Neil, how is chat looking? Is everyone excited? Everyone happy?
Yeah, everyone's happy in the chat. They're all just very happy to be here, and there's a couple of people agreeing that you look hot, and no, there's no escaping this, man. You can't change the subject. It's the complimenting Mandy stream.
I'm trying. I wasn't expecting this.
Mandy. We're like, but I'm teacher's pet.
We have the witching hour saying F the algorithm is over. Welcome to the mainly Mandy appreciation hour. So that's where we're at.
Stop. Go on.
So everyone's very happy.
Well, great. No, let's stop talking about me and talk about instead our first video, who I think is being presented by Kaylin. Kaylin, would you like to tell us about it?
Partially. I am also doing like all the other stuff to make sure that this doesn't implode. So my intro is going to be pretty short.
That's
but
totally fine.
This is a video by The Witching Hour, who Neil just mentioned was in the chat. So hi. I'm actually obsessed with this video. So I think it's kind of fucked up, but I don't watch YouTube. And I don't really watch like video essays.
Oh no.
But I love this one. And I obviously subscribed to all of the people that have been on the stream, but like this one was like the very first one where I was like, ugh! Like literally smash that subscribe button. Not just because I'm obsessed with Chucky and the like queerness and camp of Chucky just in general, but the like soothing and like beautiful way this entire video is presented, both in like the actual like vocal presentation, but also the editing. Obsessed. So we're getting into the hidden LGBT history of Chucky and the Child's Play series. Are we ready?
I think
I'm
so.
ready.
Do I know how to hit play on this and make this work?
I believe in you, if that helps.
Well, that was your first mistake. Okay, so now we
It
can...
won't be my last.
I'm already on board for vintage TV. I love vintage TVs.
I know.
It's very Kaylin Conrad.
Okay. Not me being like, I really like the editing. Okay, I am going to hit play, and I hope chat will tell us that they can hear it and everything is good so that I don't have to freak out. Let's try this.
Much like the creature from the Black Lagoon, a certain queerness has always been present in the horror genre, lurking below its murky surface. Whether it's in its themes or the community that devours each film when released, queerness is present. There's no character in the amalgamation of media which best represents the struggles and lived realities of the queer individual, more than the titular character of the Child's Play series. The 2-foot-tall doll with his signature swath of red hair has spent the last 40 years of his cinematic history struggling to exist in a body in which he doesn't belong. His main drive as a character has always been to self-actualize his true self, or to be accepted for who he is by those around him. Evocative of struggles faced by queer and trans persons today, he's a man trapped in an unknown body, even amongst his family, those with whom he should be able to share his true self. He's forced to keep his thoughts and identity hidden away in a metaphorical, and at times physical, closet, a body which externalizes the monstrous self-image contained within. He exists as someone onto whom we can project our own struggles, and, through his actions, a path forward. Chucky is a queer icon. Okay, I'm kidding. Well, only partially. I do believe that Chucky, the series and not the character, can provide a rich lens through which we can view the queer identity. Whether it's in its subtext, metatext, or even the less than subtle with each film, textual analyses available. Don Mancini, the original creator of Chucky, scriptwriter for the first iterations of the film and later its sole director, has admitted as much, whether it was intentional or not. And I believe the franchise is all the more better for it. So why not take a closer look? Sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the Witching Hour. Child's Play is an explosive franchise spanning a film series, a number of comic book spin-offs, novelizations, and most recently, a television show that has officially been confirmed for a second season. Over the span of 30-odd years, the franchise has come to involve culturally appropriative voodoo operating by film logic, soul transfers, soul splitting, resurrections and possessions, murder revenge plots that wouldn't be out of place in an Agatha Christie novel, and pessimistically realistic depictions of corporate and police corruption. So it's a little difficult to properly summarize, but what I can say is that the franchise provides more than ample evidence of a queer reading ripe to be plucked from the slasher tree, for anyone who gives it more than a surface glance. With that said, it can be a disjunctive experience to really lay it all out. And while jumping all over the place would definitely be queering the video essay narrative, it would be more than a little difficult to follow. While I've yet to read queer theory that wasn't, I wouldn't want to burden you with the same experience. With that said, I'll lay out each relevant film, talk a bit about how contextualized queer theory and queerness can be applied to that film, and then discuss connecting themes as they arise. But first, there's an issue here. What exactly is queerness? Some of you hear this term and think slur. Others might hear and think sexual identity. And a few of you may find yourself possessed by the spirit of Michel Foucault and screaming to the void that it's a prison. The reality is that it's really a bit of everything, with a healthy sprinkle of academic jargon. It exists at the post-structuralist intersections of various fields of study. It's feminist studies, continental philosophy, history, and so many others mixing and ebbing and forming a lens through which we examine. It's about taking situations and unraveling them, and it's twofold. It's about determining how situations relate to dominant power structures. Take, for example, the cis-heteropatriarchy. As the name implies, it's a system of power which exists at the intersections of patriarchy, heteronormativity, and cisgender supremacy. Think that one scene from Cronenberg's The Fly, but grosser. It takes aspects of personhood, like gender identity/presentation, wherever one falls on the biological sex spectrum, and sexual inclination, and creates a normative model which becomes valued by the society in which it's located. And any deviation is suppressed, cross the invisible line, and gets smacked down. Every identity which doesn't align perfectly with the ideal is othered and alienated. There's nothing innate about any of the previously mentioned categories that would make someone better or worse than another. Any and all socially produced inequalities are externally and coercively applied. To semi-plagiarize my favorite French existentialist, one is not born queer, but rather becomes it. And so queerness is both identifying these inequalities and elevating them, subverting them, taking differences as something transformative to be valued instead of hidden away. Second, a queer analysis is about centering modalities or modes of power and scrutinizing them. It's about putting power and how it manifests itself in society under a lens and discussing how power may be subverted. It could be as nebulous as the machinations of global economies, or as intimate as the family unit. It's really about where power originates and how it comes to exist. And in film, how narratives and imagery can change our imagination of power. So while queerness may mean different things to you and others watching this video, this is the lens through which I'll be analyzing Chucky, queerness, and Child's Play series. With that said, if you're still watching, this is your last warning. Here be spoilers, up to and including the first season of Sci-Fi/USA's Chucky. Let's talk about Child's Play, the one that started it all. It's why you're here after all. Released in 1988, the film was directed by Tom Holland of Fright Night and Fatal Beauty fame, and produced by David Kirchner, who had recently finished producing An American Tail prior to working on the Child's Play project. Not exactly the expected theatrical follow-up, mind you. Finally, the film originated from a script by Don Mancini, who would come to be one of the most important creative voices behind the franchise, and the biggest influence on the existing queer subtext within the series. Films, whether intentionally or not, tend to reflect the lived experiences, desires, and perspectives of whomever crafts them. While Holland and Kirchner were straight men, which in turn limits the extent to which the film embodied queer realities, Mancini was decidedly not, and a glimmer of his queer unconscious shone through in the script on which the film that we received was based. Mancini wrote the original script while studying at UCLA. It centered on a mother and her child being terrorized by the latter's doll, supernaturally possessed by the child's internalized rage. It's definitely a bit different than what we ended up getting. The skin of the script was flayed off, but its skeletal structure remained. A mother, her son, and a homicidal doll. Child's Play opens up with Charles Lee Ray, voiced by Brad Dourif. Yes, that Brad Dourif, the notorious Lakeshore Strangler, being chased by law enforcement. Injured, he takes shelter in a toy store. Gunned down and dying, he uses a voodoo ritual to transfer his soul into the nearest vessel, a good guy doll, the fictionalized, mass-marketed toy that was a must-have for every child in this fictional universe. As a side note, it's extremely problematic that a major plot device of the series relies on a satirization of a Afro-Caribbean religion, but we'll get back to that later. The toy, containing the soul of Charles Lee Ray, unbeknownst to anyone, eventually finds its way into the hands of Karen Barkley, portrayed fantastically by Catherine Hicks. As a single mother raising a young son, she wanted to get him the perfect gift, one whose commercial had him glued to the television every morning. Andy Barkley wanted a friend till the end. What he got was Chucky. Andy is thrilled to have a best friend, but folks around him start to become concerned when they learn that Chucky talks to him, especially as a lot of people start dying around him. Charles Lee Ray is alive, and his only means of escaping his silicone prison is to transfer his soul into Andy Barkley. Karen Barkley and Detective Norris, the one who had killed Lee Ray in the first place, find out about his game of musical chairs but with souls. They hunt him down and fry him to a crisp. Curtains close on Chucky. For now. There are a few things I'd like to talk about regarding this film, one of which is how Andy and his mother are positioned in this universe. While not explicit in the narrative, Andy's biological father isn't in the picture. In fact, in interviews done after the fact, we learn that he died in an accident years prior. And so, Karen Barkley is portrayed on screen as a single mother raising Andy on her own, with the help of her friend and coworker. He's without a male figure in his life. However, it's never viewed as a negative. It's value neutral, or if anything, positive, especially when contrasted with other films in its era. You see, films have a tendency to reinforce social norms. They are tools of ideology, after all. In a way, they act as cultural propaganda for how those adhering to normalcy ought to act, how they ought to look, and how they ought to form relationships. Horror films, especially in the 80s, were notorious as to how they approached social norms, and those that violated them. There are rules to follow, and if you don't, the natural forces within the film will punish you.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex.
The family unit was no different. Films pushed a heteronormative interpretation of the family, one led by the patriarch. Anything that stepped outside of that model was made an example of. Except for the Child's Play franchise, where the unorthodox family structure was a source of strength and resilience, ultimately leading to Chucky's eventual demise in each iteration. Take a look at Carrie. The titular character of the film is a bullied teenager who is emotionally abused by her mother, unlocks pyrokinetic abilities, and uses them on those who had wronged her. The parental abuse that Carrie suffered originated in the misogynistic hyper-religiosity of her mother. This behavior, which ultimately contributed to Carrie's mental deterioration, was exacerbated after the death of her husband, Carrie's father. The unorthodox single-parent household was platformed as something dangerous, and of which we should be wary. Child's Play, on the other hand, positions its unorthodox family structure and feminist child rearing as a source of strength. Mancini states as much in an interview with CBR, Comic Book Resources. I think it had to do with my very, very conflicted relationship with my own dad growing up as a gay man with a macho father whose greatest nightmare in the world was that I would become gay. In a way, it was revenge. There is no dad. He's dead. Mancini hammers this point in the recent television series by subverting the familial portrayal we had with Lil Andy and Karen Barkley. In Chucky, the television series, Jake Wheeler is a queer teenager. He spends his time perusing the local garage sale circuit for dolls to decapitate and dismember for his art projects. We were all 14 once. A kid needs to have hobbies. His mother died years prior and he's raised by his father, a man's man, fixing cars during the day and getting blackout drunk at night. He's disturbed by his child's artistic inclination and physically abuses Jake for playing with dolls, traits that have been historically seen as deviations to societal heteronormativity and which are projected as effeminate to the viewer, as seen in comments made not only by his father but others around him. Both the Barkleys and the Wheelers queer the family unit as portrayed in film in their own unique way. The first displays an unorthodox family which platforms feminist values, and an emotionally/financially healthy family. The absence of the father is never seen as a source of weakness or barrier to overcome for the Barkleys, whereas the latter peels away reality that is all too common for many queer kids in families that center heterosexuality, but is never revealed, warts and all, to media consumers. Its sequels and
But I want to keep watching it.
I was like so close to just disconnecting the stream and being like, I'm just gonna watch this again. Everybody else can figure this out.
Okay, I've never. Sorry, go ahead.
I kind of hate this video because it's so good. It makes me want to stop making stuff.
Yeah, we all quit.
It's just like
It's really interesting.
I need to watch more editing tutorials because clearly my game is not that good.
Yeah, it was very seamless editing, especially with like the way the text was changing and the flow of it was all very, very smooth and very seamless.
Seamless is the word, right?
Yeah.
It does this sort of like its own atmosphere, and then it just like dreamily brings you along, and it's like, wait, that was a really good take. Oh, that was a really good explanation, but it's still just this like seamless, like we're just humming along, having a time, talking about film. It's amazing, great trick.
Yeah, no, I was quite intimidated by that, and I was a little nervous about this essay because I've never seen Chucky. I have a particular fear of Chucky, and I just thought it was like such good, like the thing that I think some of us try and do sometimes, where it's like, let's use this premise to like educate and cover critical theory, and it was like that, but seamless, but like incredibly good, incredibly well explained, and incredibly interesting at the same time.
Yeah. Love that.
Like, I've never seen any of Chucky's media, any of the movies, TV show, any of it, and I was enthralled and just kind of sucked in. It was, I lost track of time.
I think we all did. We were all just sitting here just like, yeah, tell us more. We were all,
I was ready to watch the whole hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was like,
yeah.
I forgot we were streaming for a second.
There's I wasn't sure how people would feel about it if they hadn't seen Chucky, or like Sarah like does not like Chucky. I really want to see people's reactions because like as like a huge stan, I was already hooked like immediately from the beginning, like before it started, just from the premise of it, and then when the actual video started and I was like, oh, this is like good, like like on its own, like separate from Chucky, this is just good. I really wanted to see how other people reacted to it.
Mary in the chat wrote, I didn't know the director was gay. It explains why the franchise seems to have so many queer elements. Me too. I had no idea.
I did not see that man until today, and then I was like, well, until I watched the video, but I was like, damn, okay. Like, okay.
Yeah, so we did a comment earlier on from Zilla of the Athenium, who said, I think it was just about his button down.
And the leather jacket, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, all right, fair enough. This is a particular kind of that era hot. Right.
Well, it's like, yeah, like especially like gay scene of that era hot, like with the hair too. Obsessed, yes.
Yeah.
Amika, I think you started to say something earlier too.
I was just gonna say that I've never seen Chucky either, a single part of it. So, but that was absolutely captivating from start to finish. It was like a documentary. It was like a Netflix special. It was so well made.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely want to watch the rest of it now, please. Can you press play again?
Okay, but we should actually have a Chucky viewing party.
Yes.
In the Discord at some point.
Can we?
I'm down for that. I love horror media, and I love consuming horror media. I love consuming YouTube videos on horror media, but a lot of that kind of steers into gore and gore fascination, which I'm fine with. Like I have that.
Yeah.
I love gore in movies and stuff like that. But it was so tasteful and carefully done, so that if you're not a person who has a predilection towards horror movies, that you could watch this and just soak up the info without worrying about being exposed to an excess of horrifying images, even though it's on a horror movie. It was so calming,
right?
That it didn't. I forgot I was watching something on a horror film series as well.
Did anyone else have a moment where you, when they showed the clip from The Fly, where you're like, oh right, horror, David Cronenberg. Okay, I remember what gore is.
I hate gore. I like horror movies, but I hate gore. I also have like a particular bias against Chucky because I had a babysitter when I was a kid who like didn't do much babysitting. She just like pulled the chair up in front of the television as close as she could get and eat snacks. And it was like, don't kill yourself. I'm gonna eat snacks and watch TV. And I came down one day and was like, I can't sleep. And she's like, well, I'm watching this so you can sit and watch with me. And it was Chucky. And like it was the end. So I don't know which iteration of Chucky it was, and I must have been like 7 or something. But like I have a particular like I'm never watching that film, and I was a little like I might have to duck out of this. I have a specific thing against this stupid doll, but no, I could watch it. It was fine. It was really interesting.
You, yeah. We also had a couple of other comments come in, and then I'll let you off. We did have somebody say that it's Beethoven Junkie has said that Legal Kimchi also has an amazing voice.
Oh my god,
which,
yeah, true.
We concur. And the Witching Hour, who is still in the chat, and I hope having a wonderful time, said, this is the first of 3 different Chucky/critical theory entries. Just saying. So
yeah, there was one on disability as well that I had in my watch later tab, unless I'm making that up. Somebody confirm, because I don't want to like lie and promise content that does not exist, but I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Somebody fact check Halen.
Yeah, how Child's Play succeeds and fails at disability representation and ableism.
Okay.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, if you all who are watching along with us, obviously enjoyed this video, you definitely are going to go subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
You're going to go watch the full video later, and you're going to comment in the comment section and tell them how much you love it, right? Everyone's going to do that? Okay.
Yeah, they sort of say yes. You can tell the vibe. They're all like, yes, Mandy.
Good.
Yes, Miss Mandy.
Good, Mandy. Oh God, I could never be a teacher. Don't do that to me. All right. Well, I think we should probably move it along to the next one. And I think, Sarah, it is your turn. Please tell us about your video.
Oh, this is my pick. I don't know. I should have taken better notes on the video because I was just like, it's so good, and I couldn't believe it because when I looked at it, it had only gosh, I'm trying to find it right now as we're doing it. It had only 571 views, and I'm like, okay, this is absurd because it's interesting and it's funny and it's very educational and quite well edited, and I'm like so excited about this creator. I think the only thing that I wrote down is that I think there's a mix in the video between using terms of art within the bounds of their scientific definitions and then outside of the bounds of their definitions, but I think that kind of doesn't matter. I think it's a really good video, like because sometimes terms of art enter the lexicon and get used more casually. So just as somebody who's like social science oriented, I'm like, maybe note that, but like no, it's so good. I was like so excited when I watched it like told me, I'm like, I'm doing this one. I'm so excited.
Yes,
It's so good.
It was like a no-brainer. I think was yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like this one.
This one. This is the video. Yeah.
So are we good? We starting?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let me see if I remember
Cue
how
us
to
up.
press these.
We ready, chat?
Several
You excited?
buttons.
Hype, hype, hype.
Hype, hype, hype.
Hello? Hey, Father. You sent me a gift. I'm in the bathroom right now, so like I can go. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. Hi. You may not know me, but my name is Babilla, and welcome to Things I Thought Of, a series where I talk about things that I thought of. This is looking like the longest episode that I've put together so far, so if you're not already subscribed, you should do that. Turn on notifications and give this video a big ol' like. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I heard one of my favorite creators say something that really stuck with me. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is.
Real talk. I had a tactile memory response of like how dope it felt to see these little boys go from falling off their bike over and over and over again into them riding a bike.
To you,
that
yeah,
shit
because
is
of you,
amazing.
you know?
Yeah, like I rode that boy off. He started pedaling, and all I could hear in the back of my head was, "You're breaking generational curses, my brother."
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Yeah, I am, nigga."
Generational curses. I knew what that meant, but I didn't understand what it meant. And then I was in therapy, and my therapist brought it up again. Then, here come the people on the clock app.
I wanna kill my mom! I wanna kill my dad!
People talking about the concept of generational trauma. It was at that point where I was like, it's time. I need to understand this concept on a fundamental level. It's time to do research. Done. Okay, so I think the concept is pretty simple. It sounds like a scary phrase, generational trauma. And yes, the implications of it can be scary, but as a concept, it's not hard to understand. According to the Duke Office for Institutional Equality, generational trauma is a concept developed to help explain years of generational changes within family. It is the transmission of the oppressive or traumatic effects of a historical event. But I also want to highlight that as we get more into it, generational trauma isn't necessarily always tied to one specific event. It can also be due to societal pressures or cultural norms or other things. This is more a consequence of living under a certain circumstance. For example, according to a 1966 study done by the American Psychological Association, there were high levels of psychological distress amongst Holocaust survivors, but also their children. While not every generation goes through a situation as traumatic or intense as the Holocaust, different situations and standards have trickle-down effects onto multiple generations. But how do these things get passed down?
Hey, hold on, script. This feels a little premature. I mean, we've only talked about this in like a general sense. The homies in the audience don't have like a tangible or relatable example. Like, how are they going to have a good grasp on the concept if the only thing that we've given them is the Holocaust?
So, some examples, I guess. You walk into your parents' house for the first time in months. You're so excited to see your parents again after so long. You've missed your childhood bed, your dog, home-cooked meals, all of that stuff. You take a few steps into your house, and everyone realizes you're home. Your mom walks down and gives you a big hug. Then she pulls back to look at you and says, "Someone has been eating well while they've been away. You've gained weight." Now, how would a comment like this make you feel? Comment down below, because I definitely have thoughts. I even got you started with the pinned comment down below. Now, does your mom mean well when she makes a comment like this? I guess kind of. Not necessarily well, but I don't think that she necessarily meant to hurt you. In reality, though, you kind of brush it off and go to your room. You pass your bathroom mirror, and it's kind of like you do a double take. You look at yourself. Oof. Oof.
Oof.
That hurts, huh? But what even is that? What the hell is even that? Where does it come from? All you really know is that it made you feel bad, and now you're uncomfortable in the skin that you're in. And the cause of it was your mother. It's an overall anxiety that you feel all across your body. And now you kind of just have to live with that for the rest of your life. But what about her? How does she feel about all of this? I know. Why should I care about the feelings of another person when they're the ones who hurt me? Well, the answer to that question is what's going to help us come to a better understanding. The unfortunate reality is that sometimes for things to be able to change, we have to do things that are uncomfortable and don't feel right, but it's what makes us the bigger person. Well, okay, let's think about where your mom's coming from. She most likely grew up in a patriarchal society where a lot of times women's bodies are seen as their only form of individual worth. So seeing you as an individual skew out of what society's definition of the ideal body looks like makes her feel anxious. It makes her feel anxious for her, makes her feel anxious for you. Her parents before you were around might have also been really, really negative about body image, further perpetuating what society's standards are. You see what I'm talking about? After growing up in these kinds of conditions, this is what she knows. And that's how it makes it to you. Well, script, I guess that was a good idea to give an example. One of the most common ways that generational trauma comes up in consumable media like TV and movies is through the sins of the father trope. The sins of the father trope serves to categorize when a character has to deal with the mistakes or choices made by a parent. I say parent because even though the trope has a patriarchal background, there's a lot of situations where the person who ends up in that parental role doesn't end up being a man. It can be used in any situation where a child has to deal with the consequences of a parent's actions or treatment. This can be seen in many different examples, but the origin of the phrase is biblical. For you shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. But it's not just found biblically. These kinds of transfers of sin or exchanges of consequences are found in many different pieces of media across time. When humanity was cold and living amongst the beasts, the gods of Olympus looked down on the planet. Struggling and lacking even the Greek-era version of modern technology, the outlook for humanity was one of suffering. But one god, no, one titan sought to help them. Prometheus, the titan of fire, stole fire from the Olympians and gave it to humanity. And although it was Prometheus who had stolen the fire from the Olympians, Zeus punished humanity instead, sending Pandora and her box of horrors. In Fullmetal Alchemist, the Elric brothers had to fight the literal sins of the character father. Also, in Game of Thrones, Jon Snow is effectively treated as an outcast for most of the show, all due to his father's decisions. Since he's his father's bastard son, he's given the last name Snow, which is given to all those in Winterfell that are bastard children. The unequal treatment that Jon receives is a consequence of the unfaithfulness of his father. I don't think I had to spell out why this spells generational trauma for a lot of these examples. Some action or event has effects on an individual and subsequently their children. There are also other examples of this trope showing up in a lot of popular things like Attack on Titan, Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home, Into the Woods, and other countless pieces of media. It seems like individual behaviors or interactions between a parent and their child are ways for these kinds of things to get passed down. But why is it that our parents do this to us in the first place? Why do the ones that we love cause us pain? Well, that last one isn't a question I can fully answer right now. But partially, society has been making a big shift towards people actually taking care of their mental health and stuff like that. You know, instead of just like shoving it down. In a generation where we feel like we're living through historical events every few days, millennials and Zoomers are taking a lot more proactive approach to taking care of themselves, seeking out therapy and preserving their mental health. Think about it. Amongst your peers, having conversations about mental health is probably a more common occurrence. I don't want to speak for everyone, things just seem to be trending that way. We're trying to face things more head on, addressing the trauma that we experience. Do you know who doesn't do this? A lot of our parents.
That was so
That's
good.
so good. I'm obsessed.
I love it.
Much.
That was so good.
How many of us? How many of us have had the argument with your script on the screen before? that hit a little too close to home. That was too real for me.
Read you to filth.
So good. I gotta like so Jock Monroe brought up in the comments like early on the study of the winter famine during the Holocaust in Holland, and there were like dozens of studies of the Holocaust, but like one of the studies of the winter famine found that there's also like a physical effect to intergenerational trauma. A whole bunch of people who starved during the winter famine, their children and grandchildren, and in some cases great grandchildren, suffered from higher rates of like diabetes and obesity as a result of the starvation of their their grandparents or their great grandparents, because that kind of like physical trauma to your body like fundamentally like changes the way your body responds to things, and then that changes like the way you react to like pregnancy and that kind of thing. And so there's like there have been dozens of studies that have also found like physical responses to serious trauma like starvation or holocausts.
Yeah, and I think that was only the first like half of the video.
Yeah.
It was a very hard video to find a cut point on because I'm like, but it's so good. It just, it's like almost let's just watch the whole thing, but it's like no, we should cut it off because then people should go watch the whole thing after. But it remains just as good and just as funny.
It's so funny. It's such creative humor as well. I think we're gonna have to rename it from F the Algorithm to like watch us all get imposter syndrome, give up. Actually becoming less of a running gag and more of a like actual reality. It was just so creatively funny, like so funny with the medium, not just like a series of wordy jokes, but a combination of everything that's funny about the medium is just like, this is such good content comedy. You've got it. You've just got it.
A series of wordy jokes, and like all of us like look off to the side.
How dare you? But you're absolutely right. Someone had mentioned in the chat that it was like 2010 YouTube humor, and I don't know if that was meant to be a compliment or an insult, but
I'm sure it was.
But it's, for me, that era of YouTube comedy was an era where people were figuring out the median and how to be funny in the median, as opposed to currently, I think there's a lot of trying to mimic television, and so I veer towards that type of humor because it is something that's specific to the medium, and I love the medium. Aside from, Kaylin, we all watch YouTube a lot, right? No.
The camera shakes were so good. I loved the camera shakes.
Incredible.
I loved all the animated bits too. I know some of them were from like actual television shows, but like showing like going to the house and having your mom being like, "Oh, you've gained a little bit of weight," which was such a good example to use to go from having started off with like the Holocaust and then him having the conversation with his own script about like, oh yeah, that's not a great example. Maybe something a little more relatable, and using that I think was like a very good relatable example to use. And then just that whole animated bit was like it was very simple animation, obviously, but it was really good. I think it worked very well. And I also really enjoyed all the titles, that like font with like the kind of yellow squibbly kind of background. Like it was very almost cartoonish, but like in a very mindful, good way, not like cartoonish in a bad way, if that makes sense. Yeah, I really like that video a lot. I'm definitely gonna watch the rest of that. I need to learn more about this generational trauma.
It's an instant subscribe for me. I think that was so good. And like Mandy, you used the word relatable a few times, and like super relatable, super like I'm just sitting in a room with you, we're chatting, you're my funny friend, you're my new funny best friend.
Not my FFF.
Just amazing. Like that's the kind of thing that I would look at that and think, oh yeah, they've obviously got 500,000 or more subscribers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no, look, I wrote this down because it's insane. They've only got where's my phone is freezing.
315.
No.
That's it?
Yeah, 316.
They had 291 when I looked at it a week ago. So good. They've gotten a few since then, hopefully from this stream. But when I looked, it was like 291 subscribers.
No.
Less than 300 subscribers
Go
for
to
this
jail.
video. Really?
No, jail time.
Unreal.
Really?
Unreal.
Seriously? Fuck the algorithm. Like, what the fuck?
Fuck the algorithm. That's why we're here. We're here to fuck the algorithm. So everyone go subscribe right now.
Everybody go fuck.
It actually made me think of something that's somewhat related to that. This is a bit of an anecdote, but there is a generation of Koreans who really love cornbread. Reason for this was the United States government shipped a massive amount of cornmeal, because it's a cheap corn product, to Korea in the post-war era. My mother grew up in that era in Korea on a farm. So her generation of Koreans love cornbread. And it's a very specific to that time. And it kind of passed down, and I have an affinity towards cornbread. We live in the South. It's easy for me to get it. But it's interesting. That and Spam. People, deride Spam. And I was always confused by that because I grew up with it. And there's a specific stew in Korea called budae-jjigae. And it literally translates into army-based stew. Because it's stuff that you would get from basically army surplus care packages from the United States government. And you would throw like instant ramen noodles and hot dogs and Spam and stuff into a stew, and then mix it with traditional Korean ingredients and to stay alive. And maybe Spam is the generational trauma I'm talking about, but it's weird because there's an affinity there that comes from the starvation of the time. Sorry, just made me think of that.
No, that was good. Good story. Thank
No,
you for sharing that.
I didn't respond because I was enraptured. I was like, "Ooh, keep talking."
I think that's what's like so aside from the humor, like great about this video is it immediately gets your mind going, and you're thinking about like all like it starts conversations. Like I immediately wanted to start talking about intergenerational trauma and epigenetics.
Mm-hmm. And also, I want to be their friend. I want to be friends with this person.
Yes.
Would like to hang out.
Because what?
Be our friend.
Yeah. What an absolute legend.
Yeah. No, really. Like, let's please collaborate with us because you're better than.
Yeah, you do the video.
Yeah, not me like writing down all these people's names so I could be like,
like collaborate with us so we're better videos. Thank you.
Do you want to make my videos for me from now on? Thank you.
Please edit my videos.
Yeah, that was great. How did chat feel? Were there any interesting other comments about the video from chat or?
A lot of people are talking about the historical intergenerational trauma stuff. Like you're absolutely right, Hoots, to say that it like started conversations. People talking about the impact on older Japanese people loving white bread because of American rations after World War II, and I can jump in on that one too. I think actually there's a similar example from like the sort of dish of Dublin being just absolute garbage, the cheapest meat thrown into well, it's not absolute garbage. I just mean it's like the cheapest meat thrown into a stew from like just people being starving, and it's called coddle. And let me see, and Spam also being part of Hawaiian cuisine. It's just, I don't know, it's like everyone's now in this sort of fascinating like diet and historical events and trauma kind of conversation, just bouncing back and forth faster than I can keep up with. So
Like
it's great.
videos, these videos are so good they're derailing the stream.
And we wouldn't have it any other way. See how you know it's a good stream. Great. Well, let's move on to the next one, which is actually our guest spot today, Legal Kimchi. Tell us all about your pick, because I know it's an interesting
all right.
one.
Well, obviously, I have a certain affinity towards these folks. It's the Asians Represent, and if you know anything about the TTRPG space, they made a splash initially because they had a group of 3 Asian individuals from various backgrounds, academic, what have you, lifelong fans of tabletop RPGs, and they would read through Oriental Adventures, which just from the title can give you an idea of how problematic it was from the beginning. And basically saying, hey, white folks, you know how you love to steal from our cultures for your entertainment? This is all the stuff you got wrong. This is what's wildly off base, and this is what's, offensive. And, they got a lot of hate for doing that. Like you do. Oh, you just hate this hobby or whatever. And all that. But they've had a continual podcast where they've gone through that and are touching upon how media interacts with not only Asian topics, but other people's topics as well, and the intersectionality of it. Like a really good episode was talking about blaxploitation films and its utilization of Asian cultural motifs like kung fu and martial arts in general and things like that, and the intermixing of American Black culture and Asian culture. This video that we're going to see here is called The Privilege Paradox, and it's talking about emotional labor. And what I love about this is that when they have something that ventures into a field that may be slightly off base for them, they bring on people who can talk about it. Like when they were talking about blaxploitation, they brought in a friend of mine, Stephen Huddleston, who's a professor of gender and history from the University of Colorado Springs. He's a Black professor who studies this as part of his class. And they talked about the interaction between the cultures. Full disclosure, they had a episode on mixed race individuals and how it feels to be parts of the Asian culture and from within and without. And I was on that. So, hey, go see me talk about that experience, being a mixed race individual myself. But they didn't have their hosts on that episode because none of them are mixed race. So they're like, okay, we're going to have this show, but we're not going to be on it. It's going to be a showcase of just mixed race voices. We're going to use our platform for that. And they do that consistently. And that's what I like about it. When they need to take a back seat because they want to talk about an issue or platform an issue, if they're talking about the intersection between Asian cultural traditions and queerness, well, the queer parts, like they'll bring on people who are of those identities to talk about it. And this is no exception, where they have queer and non-queer, all sorts of individuals who are representing different points of view on the topic and having long, nuanced conversations that go in depth for it. And I absolutely love it. So this is the preface to go in there. So
Oh, thank you for that. That was a great intro.
I know.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
But do I have to dress you down now, or do I just ignore it and move on?
Yeah, definitely the whole I want to do good. I don't want to go and make a bad TTRPG product. I don't want my character to be racist or based on stereotypes. Yeah, absolutely. You're trying to do good, but with that, you are actually doing bad on someone.
I actually really like how Sean brought that up, because the thing with good intent is, sure, yeah, cool, that's great, right? But sometimes that good intent is a fear and defensiveness about who you are as the privileged person. So I hear a lot on the tail end of people coming to me with these weird questions of like, but it's just so scary, you know, dealing with like people judging me for my actions. And I'm like, that's a fear that I deal with every day. So if this is new to you, maybe get good, as we video gamers like talking, right? And that defensiveness makes it hard for me to focus on your good intent, even if it is good intent, because you're coming to me first with this very defensive, difficult position that I further have to carry, and I further have to minimize my presence and choose my words very carefully. And like the sheer amount of mental calculus that you'd have to do based on the number of unfortunate tick boxes that you have to check out on your marginalization is pretty hard. Like, I mean, you all see me all the time when I come on podcasts. Female, brown, not from the States, queer. Right. That's like a lot already. So then you put that little like checkbox set against the checkboxes of whoever's talking to me. And the power dynamics just go like galaxy brain mode, like how you're supposed to figure out those interactions. So it's just like, thank you so much for the good intent part, because it's like you could go on forever about how that affects things.
I mean, I think it depends where you're coming from, right? Like, I think impact does matter more for sure, but intent will determine my reaction. Like, you know, like, because I will always differentiate between accident and malice. So I think intent matters in that regard. Yeah. So, but of course, I still have to manage the impact anyway, because that's what I'm managing. How I manage it is determined by intent. I think that the problem here is that the labor becomes so arduous over time that it makes you, it honestly, I think, damages me as a person, and not in the, I become a less trusting person. So as over time, good faith questions are now measured in positions of bad faith measurement. Right? So you're just kind of like, is this person like shitting me? So then you have to go through that whole like weighing process before you answer. Do I answer as if this is do I answer this as if it's a truly good question, and this is someone who has put their trust in you to help them become better, which of course is also flattering in a way, let's admit. But at the same time, it's also like, if this mofo is out to like troll me with horrible questions, do I step on next today? And then, you know, and like in many cases, as you know, like Pam, I'm not American. I'm queer as fuck. Right? I'm mixed race, which comes with its own bag. Depending on where I am, I'm a person of color. And I'm also now an immigrant.
So you can kind of see where like different perspectives putting into the input and looking at intersectionality in action. And I love that, because like every episode of this is having these great conversations where they're coming at each other with good intent, goodwill, good faith. So you can see people hash it out. And some of the conversations are conversations where it's like, these are conversations that we need to have internally inside of the Asian community. Like, how much racism against Black people is in anime? Like, that's a conversation where, you know, it's like, white people, stay out of this conversation. But you could probably learn from hearing the conversation. Mm-hmm. So it's a wonderful place where you can learn so much from intersectional conversation. And that's what I love about it.
No, it was so good. There was a comment in chat that was like, how are these people so eloquent without editing? And once again, I was like, like literally read to filth, because just there was so many lines in there that I was like, this is like fully quotable. I could base like literal frameworks that I use daily on the internet off of what I just heard in the 4-minute clip that you chose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah.
You did it really well. No, I was just gonna say, like, it's really interesting you say, like, staying out of the conversation but benefiting from hearing it. And I think like that kind of summed up the feeling, because it was like, I think like when you're dealing with intersections that are not your own or far removed from your own, that you read, like, sometimes it's kind of fascinating, and you want to be fascinated, but not like not fascinated at the cost of being like, as this person pointed out, like creating a negative impact, but also engaging in this vague, rambling apologia, that you're trying to sort of, I'm doing an intersection right, aren't I? I'm doing an intersection right, instead to just actually have this space to, like that was like an hour and 48 minutes of just like, listen, it's really eloquent, it's really fascinating. You'll learn, like you'll just absorb. I thought that was great.
I appreciate this pick too, because I think a lot of the YouTube stuff that I watch is a lot of the YouTube stuff I watch is a mix between either stuff where you have to have your eyes on the screen or something that I can like put on while I am doing like dishes or something. And it is very helpful. I'm glad that there is one in there where I'm like, oh, I could have it like kind of next to me while I'm doing dishes and glance over, but like I'm mostly just there to listen anyway and hear what people are saying and hear like discussion. And I find that helpful,
Yeah, the first thing I thought was like, is this a podcast? Can I subscribe to this right now and put it on and like listen to it while I'm going to bed? Because it's oh nice. Okay, sweet. Okay.
I know what I'm listening to when I'm doing the dishes later.
It's a podcast, it's a YouTube channel, it's a stream all at once. Like they have a Twitch stream, they have a YouTube channel, they have the podcast. So pick your poison on how you want to consume it. It's fantastic.
Somebody else in the chat said, wow, a live stream on a live stream. So I can't wait to see somebody react to this. And it'll be like,
I did get a screenshot of like all 12 of us.
Just like layers of streamers.
Trying to explain this to people who've never even been on the internet. Yes.
Yeah, that was
I love that. Oh, sorry.
No, you go, Mika. You're good.
Yeah, no, that was really, really interesting. I could have listened to much longer, in fact. Just like sort of regarding what they were even talking about of the sort of mental labor that they have to put in all the time. And like listening to streams like that and sitting and watching streams like that is one great thing that we can be doing to kind of lessen that, because it's there, the information is there. We don't need to be asking these annoying questions. We can just listen to amazing works that are being produced by people all the time that we're not getting to see because of the fucking algorithm.
Oh, and it's so annoying in my real life. And because I have a friend who works at a print shop who made these for me, I actually printed out cards that say an Asian guy said it was okay. And because I'm mixed race, a Hispanic guy said it was okay.
I like that.
Are they double-sided or do you have separate cards?
They're separate cards.
Okay.
It depends on the circumstance.
Separate situations, so yeah.
I don't want to inadvertently give an Asian okay to a Hispanic question. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you hand it like upside down or something, you could get your privileges revoked.
Exactly. Like
you could have your cards taken away.
That's incredible. That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. I can't believe you have this.
It's incredible.
I love the idea, but I just want cards that just say faggot on them. So you can use them in like so many situations. Like if somebody asks
said it was okay.
Just passing in my F slur card, thanks. Yeah, that was.
I will not be getting white women cards printed. No, thank you. If a white woman said it was okay, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
It's a white woman said this was okay. Run on the bottom or something, or stop.
Like stop. White woman approved.
That is your Uno reverse card right there.
I love this like horrible like play your card game that we're inventing right now, where like certain cards cancel each other out.
We are all getting
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot this was
Yeah.
live.
I'm trying to think what mine would be. It'd have to be like an immigrant says it was okay. She was white though. I think that would be, like
A little caveat on the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have to have like they said it was okay, but there's only one of them.
It sounds like there's a group consensus, but there isn't.
But it's really just me.
It's just the one.
The singular they said it's okay.
Yeah. The singular they.
This is the worst card against humanity.
Probably better than the original one though. Probably less offensive.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right, is it my turn?
I think it is your turn, Hoot. Let me check really quick. Yes, you are next.
Yes.
So please introduce our next one.
Awesome. So I've got a video here by Rosenkreutz. All of his videos make you feel incredibly smart, which I love because I'm not, but I like people to think that I am. So like it's very helpful if you're somebody like me and you like little pearls of wisdom that you can put in your back pocket. And this is a particularly useful video for pearls of wisdom because it's basically analyzing the it's giving you a crash course in the intellectual vanguard of TERF talking points, transphobe talking points. So all of the kind of like intellectual philosophical arguments that filter down to your standard transphobe, we're kind of looking at the like philosophical precedent and the specific thinkers that have come up with those. So I think it's a really, really interesting video. It is very easy to follow and understand, but it also like gives you like a very good crash course in like where transphobic people are coming from, like where their politics, where their philosophy comes from, which I think personally is the best way to fight your enemies, is to know exactly where they got their ideas. So we're jumping in with Janice Raymond. And just before Janice Raymond, we had like a quick crash course in Vidig and like kind of political lesbianism. I highly recommend you go back and watch the video from the very beginning to just like get that kind of like foundation. But we're gonna jump in with the transphobe Bible, Transsexual Empire.
Oh my god. I wanted this book, but I was too scared to walk out of the bookstore with it in my bag. But I also didn't want to pay for it.
I have a copy. If anybody wants, I can send it to you all through Dropbox because I'm currently reading it and I did not pay for it.
No, I wanted a real one though, just to like leave on the table. It's like a little conversation starter, you know.
Ooh, I love that.
The conversation is like how much I hate Janice Raymond, but like
one of the hosts of like a diet a podcast that I listen to criticizing diets has got a collection of diet, and I love.
Oh, of course, yes. You have to have the like oppositional literature, but then you also have to explain it.
Let me introduce you to my Harry Potter novels.
Okay, are we ready?
I think we're ready. Let's do it.
Janice Raymond.
Raymond is an American lesbian feminist scholar, most famous for her 1979 work, The Transsexual Empire. But she has since written other works, and notably centered her focus instead on sex work and trafficking. I bring this up because it is the inverse of the trend among other lesbian feminist scholars and the popular perception of TERFs, who have tended to lose sight of women's causes in favor of emphasizing the trans debate. With respect to her work, we'll largely be focusing on the transsexual empire and a few outside bits written to accompany or explain it, like her website. By virtue of the timing of publication, Vitigue and Raymond are not in dialogue with one another. Transsexual Empire predates Vitigue's essay by about a year, but Vitigue does a good job introducing political lesbianism, and that's important to grasp before getting to what is essentially the Bible of trans exclusion. It is, in no uncertain terms, the source of many gender-critical talking points that are passed around to this day. Some of them have since been updated or repackaged, but generally they're familiar to anyone who follows GC arguments. I won't be digging too deep here because, well, speaking frankly, digging deep with this book means scratching one's nails against stone. Like any normal reading of a book, let's begin with the appendix. Yeah, okay, admittedly that's weird, but as a small tip for doing readings of large texts, especially in history, it can be really helpful to read sections based on relevance, and the appendix, rather temptingly, is subtitled Suggestions for Change. Of course, to understand the suggestions, one needs a general knowledge of what she's talking about, and I had that going into this thanks to Mia's video. If you want a better picture of the tone and words of the book in general, it's in there. The Appendix of Transsexual Empire attempts to provide a practical answer to the question, okay, so what do we do about all this? And as such, is rather instructive for our purposes. Interesting to note here is that Raymond does not advocate for a legal intervention against surgery, and indeed wishes to put aside that discussion. The prevention of transsexual surgery and the social conditions that generate it are not achieved by legislation forbidding surgery. Rather, it is more important to regulate, by legal measure, the sexist social conditions that generate transsexual surgery, and also, legally, to limit the medical institutional complex that translates these sexist conditions into the realm of transsexualism. Beyond that, we get to a familiar talking point, the targeting of gender clinics. It must be clarified that, to the exclusionary lesbian feminist, real trans people do not exist. It follows then that transsexualism is, to those like Raymond, an attempt to fix a problem the wrong way. And so things like clinics are actually sexist because they seek to destroy women or enable oppressors. Okay, let's give an example. In the view of Raymond, there is no such thing as a trans man. There is merely a woman who is confused. When the trans man, who, again, to Raymond is merely a confused butch lesbian, goes to a clinic, the clinic will tell her that she's a man and affirm in the wrong direction. Note here the concept of critical awareness, or consciousness, as that will come back, and indeed is likely borrowed from the materialist approach of Vitigue, class consciousness, etc. Let's step outside of the book for a second and into some of her follow-up material. On her website, there's a whole fact and fiction section dedicated to debunking claims that Raymond is transphobic. In it, in the section specifically dedicated to the transphobia claim, she responds to the question, "Are you a transphobe?" with claims that people refuse to engage her book in its ideas, and that she's being maligned, and that people don't like her, which, fair enough, and fair enough. And then a diatribe about how the transgender community is also at odds with itself, and her presumptions that the community will fragment because of non-binary people, and tension partially generational over gender affirming versus gender non-conforming. And her evidence for this just indicates she doesn't understand what non-conforming means, nor that trans men and trans women aren't like en masse holding out for trans versions of man and woman to be legal designations. Trans women are women, trans men are men. In the Australia example, they wouldn't be the ones resigning themselves to the non-specific category. The point with Raymond is that all of this, all these talking points, all the specific concerns, they've been with the gender criticals since 1979, and they've barely been iterated upon. If you keep up with their contemporary arguments, you already know the playbook. Another element noted in her 1994 reissue introduction is the apparent tension over the idea that transness doesn't deconstruct gender, it reinforces it, which I would argue is true more of many radical feminist adherents, but here's what Raymond says. The ideal of transgender is provocative. On a personal level, it allows for a continuum of gendered expression. on a political level, it never moves off this continuum to an existence in which gender is truly transcended. Its supposedly iconoclastic rebellion against traditional gender confinement is more style than substance. What good is a gender outlaw who is still abiding by the law of gender? And I get what she's going for there, but she's having the discussion in bad faith. There's a lack of, or indeed a refusal to understand that it's possible to inhabit traits that a given society has organized into a gendered category without reinforcing that categorization. Speaking candidly, I used to think in terms similar to this, particularly around trans expression of what one might call archetypes. I found certain trans expression to be politically inconvenient in the face of the larger issue of deconstructing gender norms, what Raymond refers to as confinement here. Of course, I wasn't going around telling people they were doing gender wrong or whatever, because I'm only somewhat self-righteous and not a transphobe. Speaking plainly, she means that trans women, in inhabiting femininity, are reinforcing the existence of the feminine as a category. To bring back Beauvoir, that the trans women confirm the typified marks of the second sex. Or put another way still, the way that transphobe feminists would argue, that the traditional trans woman is a collection of feminine signifiers, a stereotype of real women. Here is the emergence of a theme within gender critical history, raising interesting questions, supplying terrible conclusions. There is, in fact, a whole discussion one could have about what it means to signify gender, what expression means, and even the intersection of that with commodities and material goods. But TERFs aren't trying to have that discussion when they raise these points. Ultimately, from her work, there is a sense of
Their voice is so soothing. I don't know. The video just like breaks down everything so succinctly in a way that like I could only ever hope to do. Like, highly recommend.
Yeah, the research montage that went into this one must have been so long. Like,
I love from the chat with this video. It's just either everything is incredibly, because this was our one nepotism for the stream, right?
That's our neppy.
That's our neppy. I love neppy.
Neppy.
But the fan base for F the Algorithm, I suppose, all you lovely people in the chat, we're all sort of part of a growing and warm and incredibly incestuous community. So everybody had already seen this video and loved it. You know, like most people were just like, "Oh, I love Rosie fights."
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah,
They're so good. I'm disappointed that the chat has already seen them.
Well, that's it. They seem to have all already had a good time. Somebody asked if this was the video where if you scrub over it on your homepage, you get the preview is me. But that's actually the next video that Rosie Brights did, and I apologize for how that might have affected any click-through rate or anything like that. It's your fault. Yeah, terrible decision.
Well, I hadn't seen any of their videos yet. I had been meaning to, because I've seen them on Twitter and I've seen them recommended a few places, and Hoots had mentioned them before. I just hadn't got around to them. Yeah, so this is my first time getting to watch it at least, so I'm happy we did.
Yeah, me as well.
This is the only one I've seen.
The only other video I've seen of I need to go back and watch like their whole channel because they're so interesting. The only other video I've seen is they did one on the end of history, like Francis Fukuyama's. That I watched because I fully intend on stealing some points from it. It was also really, really good. Like their work is just very academic and in a way that is still approachable for people who didn't go to college like me.
I was like, but I understood it.
Like, I'm just looking at some of the thumbnails and titles, and I feel like this person made a channel for me because like I'll take any opportunity to shit on Fukuyama, but it's you know, a mishing of history and politics, and I don't know, I'm very excited from the tidbit that I saw there, and the presentation style very much speaks to me. I love an academic presentation style because I'm a snooty, self-righteous individual, and so it speaks to me. I don't know, and the fact that the individual here was able to say where they were wrong previously, because that's something that really resonates with me. Like 20 years ago, when I was the asshole college student, that is very different than the person that I am today. I held on to beliefs and expressed those beliefs that I would smack the shit out of me for having. Like, I am grossly embarrassed by the person that I was 20 years ago and the thoughts that I had about so many things. Okay, to give you an idea, I was in a seminary, in a Jesuit seminary in Grand Coteau, Louisiana, to become a priest. Ew. So, I'm a very different person now. Thank God Twitter didn't exist back then. I would have been canceled before I was started. So, like, anytime I see somebody who's willing to state, I didn't always understand this. So I'm coming to this from a position of, I didn't always get this. I was wrong in my interpretation of this, and I've come to learn better. That always resonates with me because it speaks to me. It's part of the reason why I make videos, is because I want to like reach out to some folks and be like, hey, I was like that too, but I gotta believe that you can change too, you know? So I'm just gonna binge this entire channel. I can just tell already.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because I'm in a similar boat where I really appreciate when people can be very vulnerable like that and share that side of themselves. Like, there's definitely an opinion, and I think I think everyone here, I'm sure, has opinions you look back at, 10, 20, maybe even only a year ago, and just go, oh, that was bad. Oh, that was really, really bad. I'm glad I'm not like that anymore. And I definitely had some opinions. I mean, I used to think bisexual people didn't exist, and now look at me. So
now look at
yeah,
me existing.
I know. I was so far in the closet. It's sad now. But anyway, I really do appreciate the being open and saying, like, yeah, I was wrong about this, and here's how I was wrong, and let me explain it to you. And again, not in that like speaking down way. It is very accessible. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I will say, in terms of that, and Francis Fukuyama, who we like name dropped, he's still very frustrating in a lot of ways, but he's actually come out and admitted that he's wrong, and now he's more of like he's not a democratic socialist, he's a social democrat, but so he's still like listening to what is it, after the end of history, he did like a follow-up interview, and some of it is like, buddy, you were so close. Like, come on, friend. But at least, like, I will jump in and, like, I find him very frustrating and annoying in a lot of ways. I'll jump in and defend him on that. I'll say that he has like evolved in some of his opinions, and he has come out and been like, "Whoa, I was wrong, wasn't I?"
I don't think he's retracted his paper though. I saw it.
He's making a lot of money off of the sales of the book that he wrote a couple years after the paper. He's not going to retract shit. That's like his whole thing.
I really like Rosencreutz, though. People should absolutely subscribe. Like, I thought it's such good analysis, it's such good research, and then it's done in such a, again, it's such like a gentle tone. I find that not stressful, but I think it's something I'd like to work on, where I feel like I'll start to explain something kind of pedantically and maybe in erudite language, and then go, which means, and kind of dumb, and it's like this kind of two courses running at once. And I feel like Rosencreutz just, no, it's the same level the whole time. It's very accessible, but it's not speaking down at any. I don't know how they do it.
Very well put, and with that dry wit. And again, with us in this continued theme of being insecure as a result of watching very good videos. It's an unintended consequence.
I want to read one of the comments. Sam the Anthro said, as someone who finds this stuff really hard to read without getting angry, I always appreciate people who can read text that they very much disagree with in order to make education for others. And I totally agree there. I have no intention of going back and reading Transsexual Empire. I have no interest, but I do want to engage with the ideas so that if, I have to combat them in my own life, interacting with people who may have been exposed to TERF ideology, I would like to be able to at least understand what that ideology is so that I can hopefully counter it.
Well, that's why the goddess made YouTubers, so that we didn't have to read books.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like at least specifically Janice Raymond.
Like I already said, I didn't go to college. Like, do you think I can read?
Well, I mean, this is a completely separate discussion, but I love talking about the elitism of literacy and reading itself. My brother is a professor at a local college, and he was explaining some education theories to me, and he was like, the way we understand intelligence is wildly off, because most people are actually of the same capacity of intelligence. What we measure is not intelligence, but interest and education style. Okay? If, like, for me, being a neurotypical individual who worked well in the common Western educational style, it's like, ooh, yay, he must be very smart. No, I just happen to be that square peg in the square hole that was able to excel in the manner that this colonial white European educational structure wanted me to. That is not indicative of comprehension, analysis, or any of the things that we actually think of as intelligence. Hoots, I'll use you as an example. You say, I never went to college. I went to 2. That doesn't make me smarter than you. Your videos are of an incredible depth and breadth of analysis. It's that
Thank you. I was fishing.
If we weren't fishing, we wouldn't have YouTube channels. But it's this elitism that comes with, oh, you've read a lot of books, or you've gone to school for all of this sort of stuff. And the democratization of education by having different YouTubers offering up this type of education in different styles so that other types of brains can understand it. Because they have the interest and because it fits the way their brain learns. That's the beauty of this platform. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. So well put. I actually have a real life example of, like, I have a buddy who I was talking to him about, I don't even know how this came up, but we were just talking. Somehow trans children were brought up, and he said to me, and this is a guy who's very left leaning, he has similar values to all of us here. But he did say to me, as a father, I do get a little bit worried about the idea of like having surgeries done to children or things like that. And I was like, hey, buddy, so it just so happens I've watched a couple of video essays about this subject. So I know more about this and it can talk to you a little bit about it. And that's not what's really happening. Let's talk about it. And we did. We had a really nice little conversation. He was very open to talking about it. And I actually sent him some of the links to some of the various video essays. And it was great that I was able to talk about that. Being someone who is cis and obviously doesn't know as much about it, but because of the labor and the work of as trans people especially, I've been able to learn more about why those arguments ultimately fall short and why they're how they're being misled essentially. So like, yeah, I think it's so helpful to even if you could think if someone out there is watching this and you're like, well, Rosencrantz already did it, so I don't need to cover the subject. Like, actually, you could still cover the subject. Maybe you'll do it in a different style that speaks to other people. So I think that's like fantastic that you brought that up. Yeah, point in that you too.
Yeah, you can have the exact same information, but something about the way you've presented it allows it to stick in someone's brain more. So never fear about covering a topic that's already well tread. Never fear about referencing someone else who made a video on the same topic as you. Like, I think 100%. Like, just as somebody who views not only like YouTube videos but like other kinds of education. I like edutainment. other kinds of educational content. Like I can watch multiple documentaries on the same subject, and they'll talk about the same thing, and for some reason with like one detail from one of them will stick in my mind in the way that it didn't with the other. It's just we all have different ways of absorbing information.
I noticed this when I went down my Scientology rabbit hole. Like literally every single person that talked about it like focused on a different aspect of it, and even though every single one of them was trying to convey like the same end point, like the way that we got there was always completely different.
Oh my god, it's like Legal Kimchi, you play D&D. This is what I imagine D&D is like, right?
No, all the games go the same.
Yeah, it's exactly identical. You get that adventure. Everybody plays the exact same adventure the exact same way. No, I mean it's wildly different, and you know, it's, I don't know, it's like everybody enjoys things in a different manner, and it's fascinating because I love watching different video essayists tackle the exact same subject because of what you said, because you always learn something new, because something is important to one person that's not important to the other person, and because you will have things that are missed that a person of a different intersectionality or a different background or anything like that would pick up that someone else misses. And one trait that I still have is being an insufferable know-it-all, and I can't be an insufferable know-it-all until I learn all the different perspectives.
I love that.
The one last thing I'll say is in this same vein is you'll all be happy to hear, and I'm happy to announce that the next of our videos heavily rips off Rosenkreuz's VFS video and cites and says that you should go and check this out. But it's actually like, yeah, it was really inspirational, and I was like, I'll do that. I can do that.
Awesome. Okay, so everybody who is in chat, make sure you are subscribed to them so that when the next Leftist Cooks video comes out, you'll be like, I recognize all these references. So go subscribe, watch the full video on your own time, like it, engage in the comments, and share it too. Do all those fun things. All right. I think we're ready to go on to our next person, which is Mika. Mika, tell us about the video you're presenting with us today. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So I am going to introduce you guys to a Twitch streamer, a tweeter extraordinaire, and also video essayist. So they're called Sinan, aka SK the Crusader. So that's their channel name. The video we're going to watch today, well, actually, no. Their channel is a channel that I've known about for some time, but I've actually been following them on Twitter for even longer. So they've got videos on like UK-centric politics and stuff, and honestly, their humor is just so great. And like UK politics is an area that kind of gets left out a lot, even though it's like exciting and dramatic, and I think worthy of more attention. And they cover it in a really, really funny way. But this video is not about UK politics. This video is way more topical. Okay, so this one's called POV, You're the Main Character and Social Media is Playing You. Okay, and I love the effort that they've put into this. It's just really nice. It's kind of wholesome and cute and funny, and I'm really happy to show it to you. So it's about how social media gamifies communication, and how that can lead to all kinds of toxicity, including viewing real people as NPCs.
Oh, I'm so excited. Can we start it?
Let's watch this. Let's do it.
Let me play it.
Thank you for escorting me. I am hunted day and night. I have one more task for you. Uncover the identity of the traitor and then return to me at my camp. Do you mind if I break character for a little bit? All of this walking has made me really tired. We like to imagine ourselves as the protagonists of our own reality. And that's pretty intuitive, right? We see the world through our own eyes. We feel the world through our senses. We interpret every action that's done to us through our ridiculous, at times, brains that compel us to do this. So it can be understandable to think of ourselves as meant to be protagonists in an overarching narrative. This tendency to think of ourselves as subjects within a narrative has collided with the fact that we can just put out any thought we have online for everyone to see. Again, kind of like what we're doing here. So we might both believe that we're the main character in the center of our own universe, but we might also believe that someone who we encounter in these environments who says something that offends us or annoys us or is just plain stupid is a character of their own, and we might start treating them as if they're an NPC or just a construct of the game that is social media. Okay, that has implications for how we're thinking about each other and how we're interacting with each other, and what kind of behaviors these platforms encourage. Because, let me be direct about this, it is the platforms that are encouraging this. Because whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, I don't fucking know, Vimeo. Is Vimeo still a fucking thing? I guess it is. My cameraman's nodding. My cameraman nodded for Vimeo, so I guess that's true. Vimeo still exists. Who knew? Confirmed alive. Vimeo confirmed alive in Serbia. The point is that whatever the social media network is of your choice, they want you to post, and they want you to post a lot, because the thing that they actually make money from is your content, which I know seems a bit ironic given the whole, you know, YouTube of it all, but that is the truth of it. In this video, I want to explore what it is to be the main character, how we produce main characters, because I want to explore this from the perspective of us creating main characters, but also us thinking we're the main character, that you get it? You are the main character. Because, spoiler alert, it's not great. I also want to think about social media and how it compares mechanically to a surprising medium to some people, and that is video games. Yeah, I know the Twitch stream is talking about video games. I get it. But trust me, it compares surprisingly well to video games. And whether these mechanical similarities actually tell us something about main character syndrome, where it's coming from, and whether we can just, you know, stop? Maybe? Please? Anyway, let's go figure that out. POV. You are the main character. You and I have something in common. Well, we might have many things in common. But the thing that I'm referring to is the fact that the only perspective that we can fully understand is that of ourselves. Think of I think, therefore I am. That's right, I'm bringing Descartes into this. We know for a fact that we exist, at least insofar as us existing actually matters. Okay, I'm not going to linger on that thought for too long. We can see ourselves in a variety of ways. You might think, for example, that you're a bad person because you drank the last of the milk and didn't replace it. Or you might think that you're a super genius because you actually managed to cook the snacks for your D&D game in time for the D&D game. Something that I have never achieved in my life. Or you might just not think about yourself very much at all. But regardless of the specifics, you understand your perspective better than anyone else's. That's not to say that you're a bad person for that. We're all like that. And we're not all bad. But if you linger on it too long, you might get into a little something called solipsism. And while there are many, many interesting things that we could say about solipsism, this isn't Philosophy Tube. You're going to have to go elsewhere for that kind of thing. You came here to watch a guy dressed as an NPC from a video game he barely remembers playing get mad about things that he saw online. That's your problem and your fault. So, in the spirit of getting mad at things online, I want to observe that social media acts as an accelerant on these tendencies and actually exacerbates the very worst of it. I think about this tweet a lot. Each day on Twitter there is one main character. The goal is to never be it. This is a dynamic that exists across all social media, and it's really been a thing for a really, really long time. Really for as long as we've had the means to interact with each other online. Facebook groups have had main characters. TikTok has had main characters. Twitter has obviously had main characters. And, you know, even old internet message boards have had main characters. Rest in piss Lotax. If you get that one, drop a like. I find the specific phrasing and framing of that tweet really interesting, right? Main character. We're making someone else, well, hopefully someone else, the center of the universe for a day because of something insane that they've done online. Maybe a moment of madness, maybe they're a piece of shit, I don't know. It actually doesn't really make much of a difference in practice when you actually look at what happens when these things happen. And what happens is we end up treating them more like an NPC in a video game, right? Like they are a character that's been spat out by the game for us to act upon. And we're acting upon them for a perceived transgression. Maybe they've done a tweet about crepes at some point. I don't know who that's referring to. Maybe they work for Lockheed Martin. Maybe they have decided that it's better to watch their infant daughter struggle to open a can of beans. Really? I mean, am I saying these things are equivalent? I don't know. I don't know if these things are equivalent, but there it is for you. So the way a main character is made on social media does depend a little bit on the specific mechanics of the social media website at play, but it essentially boils down to two main things. The two things are, one, an instigating action or comment that attracts the attention of the masses. Two, the presence of social media content production logic on those of us, me included, who decide to melt our brains by constantly posting every thought we have onto the internet. And so no one needs to feel attacked by that, just to be clear. And these pressures really play into the way that we see others and see ourselves. We tend to think of ourselves as complicated. You know, we're flawed, but we're complicated. But it's more difficult for us to think of other people as complicated, right? Other people's motivations to us can feel simple or malicious, just because sometimes it is, right? But we don't have access to that inner monologue. We usually believe that our intentions are good, right? But we don't necessarily extend that generosity to others. Or at least we think that the ends can justify the means. Or at least I hope people think that, because otherwise that implies a lot of really horrible stuff about people. You may not think that they're bad, right? Like, just because someone is not as good as you doesn't mean that you think that they're bad. But in the course of a heated discussion, you might become frustrated that they're not rolling over and accepting your obviously correct point about the quality of the Star Wars prequels, which are good, by the way. They're good. They're good again. I'm sorry if that's controversial and you're going to get mad at me, but they are good. That's not the worst kind of centrism you can fall into, though. So, you know, don't feel too bad about it. Feel a little bad, but not too bad. Now, as adults, we can usually correct ourselves from a lot of these positions in the course of face-to-face conversations, because in face-to-face conversations, there are a lot of cues we can pick up on, right? Body language, for example, whether someone's like, you know, slouching, you know, smiling at you, frowning at you, right? Because when we talk face-to-face to each other, we're not just like circles of still pictures of ourselves or anime avatars, or a username, or a smug guardian avatar. Sorry, headshot, they don't call them avatars. They're going to be very mad at me for getting that wrong. That isn't to say it's impossible to not be egocentric online. In fact, quite a lot of people manage it. But in the heat of the moment, especially with something egregious, it can be easy to just let someone have it if you really want to. And it's kind of hard not to feel a bit good letting people know what you think. And that's not to say that there aren't views and opinions out there that don't deserve to be responded to with fury and rage. There obviously are opinions like that out there. People can make mistakes, or they might be malicious. But even in those cases, social media platform pressures guide us into reacting in the way that we do, because our reactions are content for them to make money off.
Hey.
Wow.
Great.
That's good.
That was great.
Yeah, it's
The whole
the
video is so good. They then go into like the more sort of social media aspects and how like the websites function. And, oh, it's just really good. Yeah, and cozy.
I
It is
really
so
enjoyed.
cozy.
It's so cozy.
Very cozy. I really enjoyed the moment where they said something about D&D snacks. I looked over and Kimchi's like, "Yeah!" I was so happy.
It's so hard to get them ready in time.
It is.
Oh, I thought that person was such a good essay, and then that person is they're so charming. I was
Yeah.
like, I
So
listen,
charming.
like so much charisma. I will listen to you talk about main character syndrome. Yes.
Yeah, it's the good company school of YouTube, right? Where you can like it's way over there, and like it's incisive and it's smart, and like there is definitely a wealth of like this has been thought about a lot, you know. But it's like it's interesting to contrast that against Rosenkreuz, because it's this other side of it. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I think about this thing, and and I've made notes, and I'm like thinking about this thing, and I'm like, but I'm just fantastic company, so it's all going to be good. And I love it. I love an outdoors. I love a fire. I love and people in the chat were commenting on hair, aesthetic, and fear of forest fires. So
Like
everyone's very happy.
it's a literal fireside chat. It's a style of video essay which is just sitting in a bar or coffee shop across from somebody, and I love these conversations where you have a conversation with somebody who just knows a whole bunch about something and they love it, and you can tell that they love it and they just love telling people about it. And it's, to me, like the best conversations, and it's a one-sided conversation, but it's so absorbing and enrapturing that like you forget you need to go to the restroom. Like it's it's fantastic. I love that style.
I gotta record next to a fireplace at some point, because the cozy aesthetic. Also, it's very flattering lighting. I was like, this is great lighting.
Yeah.
It's not very good when the wind shifts. I'm just as gunfire, and then suddenly there's like smoke, and you're like, we gotta wait for the wind shift again.
Yeah, you end up with a lot of like your eyes like doing this,
Okay, well, when I said I wanted to do it, I meant green screen, and then I'll make a fire.
Yeah.
I'm not going
Not
outside like an animal.
I was thinking a pit, maybe at like a winery somewhere.
Yeah. I'll light a candle in my living room. That'll be my fireside chat.
If you position the camera in the right way, like with the perspective, you could probably make like a cute little fire.
I probably
That's
could.
how they made That's how they made the Hobbit small in Lord of the Rings. It's all perspective.
That's how they set the hobbits on fire.
All right, I'm gonna collaborate with Peter Jackson.
Not a tiny little Mandy in a giant ass like clean linen Yankee candle.
Yeah.
Just lounging in her peach Bellini.
Yeah.
I love that peach Bellini Bath and Body Works candle.
Oh god. Oh.
Can I just say that Sinan has a goal for this year to reach 1,000 subscribers. So if that hasn't happened by now, frankly,
they haven't even reached 1,000 yet.
That's hateful.
No, they're only at 930.
Oh, they're
All
so
right,
close.
well, I see 48 new people who can do this right now.
Oh yeah, I'm shocked. I thought I just assumed. I know that all the premise of the show is creators who haven't necessarily hit the algorithm, but it's like, come on, really?
Right? Come on.
I know that's literally why we're here, but still.
Right. I forget sometimes, like, wait, what? No, they must have at least 10,000 subscribers, 20,000, 1,000, 100,000. Like, seems criminally small. So everyone in the chat, you're making sure you're subscribed, you're sharing, you're engaging in the comments, you're going to watch the full video later, and make sure they get all those great algorithm boosts from that, right? Everyone's doing that?
Well,
follow on other things.
Follow on other things.
Yes.
If Twitter still exists at the time of this stream is playing. I haven't checked in like an hour, but if so, I'll follow on Twitter.
I've got notifications for Hoots' tweets, so it's still working.
It's still alive for now.
Also, can someone remind me, someone as in one of you, tomorrow, I want to post all the people we've done so far on my community tab.
Sure.
And just like update it every month, because I feel like that might be a helpful thing to do, but I will forget that I just had this idea.
I'll remind you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I think we're ready to go on to our next person, and I believe Neil, you're presenting our next video.
I am presenting the next video, but first I'm gonna show off, because during the stream, because we've got the kids right now, and during the stream, this was painted for me. It's a hat with some bananas.
Oh.
And
I love it.
if you do the forced perspective, it looks like a real hat and real bananas, right? Just like a regular size. Well, I've got one big
And a
thumb.
tiny little Neil.
A tiny Neil. Tiny Neil. We're bringing it back. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, I'm presenting this video, The Promised Neverland, and I remember how much I was struck by the editing, and I did all of my F the algorithming in a batch, because I just sat down and watched. Like, I kind of got obsessed, and I just got really into this. And what I thought would happen is that we would have videos that were quite like we would have a mix of videos that were quite tight, and then people who are sort of starting out. And then we've already, in like this second stream, just got all of these incredibly like precise, beautiful, and better than us creators. I'm double checking the name of this creator so I don't get it wrong. This is Skyhoppers. Yeah, this Kobe is. So I remember just being so struck by like how beautiful this was, and how it was evoking the aesthetic of The Promised Neverland through the editing. It was like just having this wonderful like meta-textual conversation between like how the like message and medium, how the thing was rendered, and what was being said and what was being shown, in the beautiful, precise, like kind of nerd writer kind of video essay type, like a archetypical video essay kind of style. And I was just like, oh, you bastard. Like, how do you do this? How do I do this? It's so patient and like, artful. And anyway, I love it. I was really inspired. So.
Has anyone seen The Promised Neverland?
That was it's similar to the Chucky thing earlier on. Like, I didn't know the source text, and I was like, this is fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating.
I have watched it, so I'm actually super excited about this. I don't remember it that well. It was like one day stoned. I watched the entire, like, every episode that was out. So I am super excited for this. Are we good?
We're good.
I think we're good. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh.
And as an
you're not good.
The Promised Neverland began as an undeniably captivating work of fiction. The combination of its beautiful artwork, charming characters, tightly written storyline, and deeply unsettling premise had gravity. It pulled the reader into a world that seemed eager both to lean into the horror of the situations it created, but also find light and hope under the direst of circumstances. Both the first sections of the manga and the first season of the anime adaptation were as compelling as they were complex, as they were tense, as they were mysterious. And the story was about something. Its twists and turns were not there just to be shocking, though shocking they certainly were, but were essential to the themes of the work as a whole. The Promised Neverland had a message. It was making an important point. Or so we thought. Since the series concluded in 2020, the conversation has revolved less around what made it special in the first place, and more around the disappointment people felt in the direction it took and where it ultimately lands. The common consensus is that it got bad. And even I can't deny that its magic does fade. Its once sharp writing dulled. But zooming out and looking at the story from bright beginning to controversial end, there is so much more to it than it got bad. This story has depth all the way through, whether it meant to or not. The Promised Neverland is just as often messy as it is poignant, its subtext static as a snowflake, and yes, for better or likely for worse, its style does shift, but it is never not interesting. Strap in, because we are analyzing this remarkable manga top to bottom to discover its core purpose hidden beyond the inconsistency. And there is a hell of a lot to say. Welcome to Reconstructed. Our initial setting is Grace Fieldhouse, an idyllic orphanage in the countryside. The children who live here are happy and well provided for, looked after by a kind matriarch they all refer to as Mom. The 3 oldest kids in the house, all 11 years old, form our trio of main characters. Emma is energetic and starry-eyed, Ray is sarcastic and aloof, Norman is calm, intelligent, and kind-hearted. They behave as one large, content family, and it seems a near-perfect life for these kids as they await adoption. But there are signs that not all is right here, such as the numbers tattooed or perhaps branded onto their necks. Quick note, while I'll use clips from the anime, I am exclusively analyzing the manga in this video. Adaptational differences won't be considered much. So after establishing the characters and setting, we learn that one of the youngest kids, Connie, has found a foster family and will be leaving that night. Following a happy goodbye, Emma and Norman notice that she somehow has forgotten her beloved stuffed animal, Little Bunny. Together they decide to skirt the rules and deliver it to Connie before she leaves, even though they are never allowed near the gate to the outside world. What they find there is horrifying. Not only is their little sister dead in the back of a truck, she is about to be eaten by sickening, demonic, supernatural entities. And to make it worse, Mom is fully aware and is helping the demons. The orphanage, the only home they've ever known, is a meat farm. Shaken to their core, Norman and Emma resolve to defy their fate and escape from the slaughterhouse they now know Gracefield to be. Before long, they inform Ray and we are off to the races. This is our setup. Can these children overcome this gut-wrenching situation they were born into? Can they beat the overwhelming odds and break out while working with extremely limited information and a strict time limit, all while having to pretend like they've learned nothing at all? 3 young orphans, all with genius-level intelligence, staging a sort of prison break against their supposed mother who was raising them to be food. It's compelling, and it's also not even close to that simple. The first feature of what makes the Grace Fieldhouse arc so powerful is its complexity. There are major ideological differences between the kids. It is incredibly important to Emma that the escape plan include all of their siblings. She doesn't want to leave anyone behind. Ray, on the other hand, finds that idea far too unrealistic and insists they need to take only their best chance at survival, which would be escaping just the 3 of them. Norman is harder to pin down, but for now he goes along with Emma, though their motivations and methods diverge significantly. Furthermore, one of the first things the reader learns about Mom, whose real name is Isabella, is that she too has a number on her neck and is fighting for her own survival as well. She was never just a minion of the demons, but a real person with her own set of goals and motivations. Finally, Isabella brings in an adult assistant, Sister Crone, who it turns out also acts independently and selfishly, willing to leverage any information she can get to serve her personal ambition and supplant Isabella for the mom position. So it's not actually kids versus Mom like it seemed at first. The conflict is Emma versus Ray versus Norman versus Crone versus Isabella versus demons. No one is fully allied with anyone else. The children have to simultaneously deceive Isabella and each other, all 3 fighting for their personal vision of what their future should be. Crone has to investigate the situation to twist things to her benefit without revealing her duplicity to Isabella. Isabella herself has to prevent the children from escaping without damaging their value as merchandise, or otherwise alerting the demons that anything has gone wrong. It goes on. To some extent, even the reader is another entity in this equation. While we return to Emma most frequently, there is no point of view character. Everyone has an internal monologue we witness to establish their interiority and true feelings, but we never learn all of what anyone knows. Each character has their secrets from each other and from the reader. The author draws curtains to hide and reveal specific pieces of information with precision to make the story as engaging as possible. That we are kept largely in the dark until certain explosively revelatory moments mirrors the kids' struggle for any understanding of the alien world they find themselves in. Okay, but I need an aside about Sister Crone's appearance. Her depiction is strongly reminiscent of the horribly racist history of minstrel shows in America. Her design and behavior perpetuate harmful racial stereotypes about black women in particular, especially when you compare her to the grace and femininity of the other antagonist. To give the artist the benefit of the doubt, I don't think all this comes from bigotry, but rather ignorance of the history of this sort of caricature and the harm it causes. In the end, Crone is still a complex, intelligent character who enriches the story, but I just felt with how often I'm putting her on screen that I needed to criticize this aspect of the manga directly. They should have known better, they should have done better. Anyway, as an example of the sort of payoff this complexity in structure and hiding of information provides, let's take a close look at the first meter twist of the arc. The kid's preparation is going.
Oh, we don't get to. Just
So,
watch the video.
tie-in, Asians Represent actually has an episode of Black depictions in anime, and it touches on Krone. Like, they talk about that.
Oh, interesting.
We knew that. We're coordinating somehow.
This was all planned.
Yeah. Planned. It's magnificent though. A lot of people in the chat like commenting on the music choices, and they are like wonderful music cues. Dan the Astro, hi by the way, commented on the moving imagery, and I love the way the flow, the image, to create like the same movement that the manga panels have, but through like moving your stills around. Simple but effective, and then I I really like this video, and I still have not watched the source material. I'm just like, no, I actually just want to absorb this through the video essay format with Skyhoppers, please.
Hard same. The editing is so incredible. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So good.
Like, I feel good when I edit out my breath.
Right. Yeah, I was bopping along with that intro song. That was a really good, I mean, I think a lot of these videos have had really fantastic music in them, but there was just something about that intro that was like the way that the text was coming up in time with like the beats, and like it was very,
100%.
very smoothly edited. Yeah, it was really good.
You can tell that someone went in and did that shit by hand too. When things really align with the music, like the person was sitting there like just like nudging it by like half a second, and then like replaying it over and over and over again until you get it right. So like when I saw the intro going, I was like, yes, like I'm so into this, because if I like to believe that if somebody's gonna put a shit ton of work into the intro, they might put it into the video too. And it was so good. I'm obsessed. I now need to rewatch this, the entire series, and then the video again, because I am a media illiterate and I watch things head empty and just take them for exactly what they are. So I'm really into seeing the breakdown of this.
I trust me, the whole rest of the video is at that same quality. And just continues to hold your attention, as do the like twists and turns of the source material. It's like it happens to also be about just like what seems to be an incredible piece of fiction.
Yeah.
But like there are lovely tricks like that, exactly as you say, Kaylin. Like having to go in and specifically like we know this pain of like getting it perfectly lined up, but then there's things you can't teach, like that music builds and builds and builds, and then it just drops into birdsong.
I was so.
And like,
so good.
Good trick.
You can't teach that, like that's an artist. So, good luck.
I'd like to announce that my next video is going to be delayed a bit while I figure out how to do stuff like that.
Well, I figure we're going to get some birds.
It's just unbelievable.
Problem all along, isn't it? Yeah. Only back.
Like we need fire, we need birds.
We need fire, we need birds, we need to hire some of these people to be our editors.
Yeah, I guess that too and more.
Yeah.
The next video that you make is just going to be fire and birds and you arguing with your own script.
Yeah. What I do every Sunday anyway, so fire, birds, arguing with my script.
I think I missed a few of the editing points because I was just so captivated by the material that they were talking about. I'd never heard of it.
It's so good.
But it looks good, and I'm gonna check it out now after watching that video. I love a video essay that can captivate me about something that I've never heard of, that I never thought I would care about, and that kind of style of writing just draws me in. Like I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know what the end of that video says, and also I want to go and binge that source material, and that's just such a skill. And I'm also going to go and rewatch it to catch those editing points that I missed, because all around, I think that video is just spectacular.
I often don't watch video essays if I don't know the source material, because sometimes you need to know the source material, or sometimes you need to. So it's like, why do a media literacy if you're not? But wow, I was really interested in that. I was really, really interested in that. So
it's pretty.
It was pretty. It was really well done.
Yeah, sometimes in the same way, Sarah, like depending on the video essay, if they start getting into it, I'll be like, oh, okay, I think I need to have watched this to really get it, and I'm gonna just skip this one. But they did a really good job explaining the source material in a way that was keeping me very engaged, made me still want to watch it, and wasn't making me feel like it was like. I mean, I know everyone's different on like where they are kind of on that range of like how many spoilers they can handle or whatever. As long as you're explaining it to me in a way that's very engaging, I don't mind spoilers, because I'll still go watch it if it sounds interesting and good. And I'm just like, I want to know more about this show. So they did a really good job of like finding that balance, I think.
Yeah, I actually really like the way that it was revealed in the order that things get revealed in the show. And like with like note to how everything's like behind a curtain, and like they slowly get opened as you're watching through it, mimicking that in the essay, instead of just being like, let's watch a video about a meat factory, an orphan meat factory, which is like probably I probably would have just called the video like Orphan Meat Factory or something, and not bothered to be so theatrical about it.
Orphan Meat Factory sounds like the name of like maybe a metal band or something.
Or like a Respect the Dead episode.
Yeah, it sounds like something
Or
we'd
that.
come up with in Respect the Dead.
Orphan Meat Factory. Yeah,
Orphan
fair.
Meat
Factory.
All right, so everyone's gonna go. You're gonna watch the whole video. Oh, am I freezing? Oh no, everyone can hear me and see me.
I can hear you and see you.
Okay, sorry, my thing was my internet's spinning out. I live in a basement in southern Maine. I have a couple of gerbils running on a wheel for my internet. So if I cut out, I apologize. But yeah, so everyone's gonna go watch the full video later. You're going to subscribe if you aren't already, because clearly, very talented creator. Engage in the comments, let them know where you came from and everything, and we're gonna help them out. I think we're on to the last video, which is my video, and I'm very excited to talk about it. The channel that I chose is called Story Yo, I think it's called, and it's really interesting. So, from my understanding, this is an organization started in New Zealand. And what they have done is they've started to make videos of these interviews that they're doing with people from New Zealand. And they're going for as much diversity and different kinds of populations and such that they can talk to. So they're talking to migrants, and they're talking to queer people and gender diverse people. And it's really an interesting organization. They have a website that you can check out too. And I actually wanted to read something from the website. To tell you a little bit more about them. Excuse me. Our mission is to show you the vulnerable and honest sides of everyone's journey, to show you that we are all here on the same page, raw, unsure, inspired, fighting and figuring stuff out together. On top of that, statistics around the gender and ethnic pay gap, hiring practices, violence in communities point to deep structural issues. Storio's mission is to contribute to a culture shift that improves societal attitudes, behaviors, narratives of success, and values of representations. Going from the bottom up of the iceberg, we are changing people's hearts and minds with your stories to affect the systems at the top. And so the video that we're going to watch from their actual YouTube channel is called 14 Migrants Talk About Ethnic Inclusion, Belonging, and Food. And they have like a couple of different series on their channel. I actually watched a few videos last night when I was checking them out. And this one's called #Pass the Mic, which I think is like the series where they do interviews with like a couple of different people, but they do also have ones where it's like them sitting, I think her name's Elena, sitting down with people and having conversations. Like there was one I watched where she was talking to a sex worker. There was one where she talked to somebody who is an activist fighting against conversion therapy. So it's like all these like really interesting interview styles, but some of them are like these kind of more group interviews, and then sometimes they're more one-on-one. So that's the intro.
Good, yes?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Are we good? Do we
Okay,
go?
I can hear you now. Yep.
As a side note, I really apologize. I got to duck out real quick.
Oh, no, you're good.
Absolute joy being here. Enjoy the rest of the stream, folks.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Legal Kimchi. We really love having you.
Thank you.
If you don't know Legal Kimchi, also a very, very, very good creator, go subscribe.
Yes, do it.
Yeah, Legal Kimchi is one of my favorite YouTubers. Highly recommend. And all that stuff earlier on, like absolute bullshit. It was really, really good. Like any of you putting yourself down, like total, you were lying. You were being polite. It wasn't true. Very
Thank
smooth.
you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being
Bye.
here.
Bye, Kimchi.
Okay. I'm going to hit play.
Yes, please do.
Times are changing faster than we have ever known, and more people are, to be frank, am I allowed to swear on this? To be frank, just sick of the bullshit.
Nisambula. My name is Jennifer Janif. I'm originally from Fiji.
South Korea. China.
The Philippines.
From the Sudanese diaspora.
Kazakhstan.
Beautiful island of Tuvalu. I'm Samoan, Niuean, and Chinese.
Singaporean, Malaysian, Chinese.
Filipino.
I'm an Indian. Arab on my dad's side and Azeri on my mom's side.
Samoan Chinese. I'm of Fijian Indian descent, and I'm currently the referee development manager at Auckland Rugby.
Being a migrant or an ethnic person, what does it mean to you?
You know, I feel prouder to say I'm an ethnic person. You know, being Samoan Chinese, I love the fact that it's two very different cultures. It makes me feel unique when, as a young person, perhaps I didn't feel that.
Settlement in a new country is never easy, but it is intergenerational resilience which our ancestors have gifted to us, which helps us in the settlement process.
Because of the way that I look. There will always be some people in Aotearoa who will never accept me as a New Zealander or a Kiwi, even though I have basically grown up here.
I found that with ethnic communities or people in colour in general, there's immense solidarity.
When we think of the migrant experience, it means being pulled between two forces.
It means having to adapt to a new environment. For myself, I felt discomfort being like the only brown person in a workspace. It's really intimidating.
Sometimes ethnic also means different. And I think that's like the first thing that my mind goes to. It's different. It's not Kiwi. It's something else.
What do you think it means to be a Kiwi?
For a long time, it was around fitting in. You watch TV and it was a white person that was on TV. There was no ethnic people there. I used to, a long time ago, pride myself that I didn't sound like I was an ethnic person. That's why we need so many role models in our communities, so that being a Kiwi doesn't have to be just white.
Yeah, I live in two different worlds, so sometimes I feel uncomfortable calling myself a Kiwi because it feels like I'm backstabbing my own culture. How do we reconcile this?
They'll be really nice and say, oh, you're a Kiwi now, you've been here for X amount of years and so on. Once you become a citizen, does that make you a Kiwi? Or once you've been here for a year or two, does it make you a Kiwi? Or you must be born here? I don't know, but do I feel like I'm a Kiwi? Not so sure about that either.
Any place I go, be it a cafe or work, the eyes that I get, especially from Pakeha or old Pakeha, it's as if I don't belong. So I don't claim Kiwiness because I have a lot of re-indigenizing to make with being Sudanese first.
There isn't a set way to be Kiwi. There are kind of symbols though, like sour onion dip. I hope so. Did I get that right? I hope so. Oh, I'm gonna butcher it. The cream onion dip? Okay, the cream onion dip.
When it comes to ethnic inclusion, ethnic relations,
I can't believe this is on our stream. This feels like something that was a viral video. Like this sounds like
I know
everybody I knew back when I used Facebook would have shared. Maybe it's because we're not using Facebook anymore. Because this is like so shareable.
269 subscribers.
Are you kidding
Go
me?
to fucking jail.
It's it. And their website is super polished too. You go to their website and it's very, very polished. It's very professional looking. Like they clearly have their stuff together. They have like a full team working on this because it was founded by, I think it's Alina and Steven, but they have like other people that work with them. It's like a nice like little diverse team, and then they have all these people they interview, obviously. So like when I was watching this, I was kind of like, is this supposed to be in our inbox? Like this seems really good. How could they possibly need our help? But yeah, they only have 269? Yeah. How?
I mean, yeah, it's strange too because it's like such a like you said, if Facebook exists, if we were still exist, but we don't use it. If people were still using it, I feel like this would have been like shared around tons. It's like a format that I find very familiar, but then I haven't ever heard this specific conversation before. So I'm like really interested, and it's familiar, and then it's like, wait, people, this is so professionally done. How are people not watching this?
Well, I lived in New Zealand for a little bit, right? And white Kiwis aren't ready for this conversation. They wouldn't be clicking on this. They want to hold an idea of their country as if it's fine. It's not Australia. We're the good ones. They're the Canada of Australia.
We're the Canada of Australia. I like that.
Hard.
But yeah, I think in New Zealand that's a really uncomfortable conversation for white Kiwis to have, and it's so important. And like you say, their website is so polished and so cool. If you're looking for resources, if you're like, yeah, if you for whatever reason you want resources based in New Zealand, if you're in Australia too, like go there because it's an amazing website. I can't believe that they aren't as well known as they should be.
Yeah, and according to their website, they've done, I think it's over 170 interviews. So like they're interviewing a lot of people, yeah, which I think is great. And like I said, they have different styles where it's sort of like these like group interviews, like you see here, where they have a couple different people who kind of fit within that same community, and then they have like these more in-depth, like one-on-one interviews that are maybe part of also a series. Like the I know the sex worker one I listened to. That one was a part of like, I think, a sexuality series. So like there's all these like different sort of formats. So if you're looking for something where they go a little more in depth with someone, you can watch that, or you can watch something that's like this, where it kind of reminds me of a very, I don't know if, I'm worried this sounds insulting, but it reminds me of kind of like BuzzFeed, but good. If that makes sense.
Yes, benevolent BuzzFeed.
Yes. Benevolent BuzzFeed.
I mean, BuzzFeed has good editing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Set up, but they'd be asking them about their astrology, like signs or whatever.
How does being a Capricorn make you feel?
They'll be like, do you believe in ghosts? And can you try this $5 sandwich and this $500 sandwich? What you think is better?
There's a gold bar in one of them.
Do you love your wife?
We've also asked your wife, and we wrote it on this piece of paper.
Okay, I want to watch this.
I love that.
Whatever this is, I'm in.
All fans. I also, it's interesting. Because people probably know, but that, you know, we put these things together like separately. So we decide, you know, basically what the date of the stream is, but we haven't coordinated on what the videos are. We're supposed to be surprising each other with them, and yet these very stark themes have emerged of like, okay, so it's really good editing, and it's like generally kind of intersectional, and also really nice voices. Because also that video just had all nice voices.
I love Kiwi accents, especially. I mean, all the accents, but especially a Kiwi accent. So, thank you.
Sorry for calling you. I didn't mean to do that.
It's okay. Is the chat permanent? Oh yeah, that'll be there forever. Never mind. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That apology needs to be there.
There was a message earlier on in the chat from Shrub Dryad, again, hi, saying, hot take, humans are lovable. To which Beethoven Junkie replied, lovable take, humans are hot.
Yeah.
It's just nice. Continued wholesome content here. And isn't it another wholesome episode
It just makes me angry. It just makes me angry. Like we've said this a couple times. Like, why are they submitting to us? And then it's like, well, that's everybody that we watched.
Yeah,
And
right.
it just shows how fucked it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was not. I don't know.
I
You
love the
don't- you-
contrast there of like, what a wholesome episode, and you being like, it just makes me angry.
It's didactic. Yeah. It can be both.
No, it's like
It can be
legitimately
both.
sickening,
Oh,
like,
I
and not
like
in the cute way, but like looking at the content and then looking at the subscriber and the view counts, like I'm gonna like legitimately throw up. Like I do not understand.
So if you all at home don't want Kaylin to throw up, go subscribe and make sure to watch the full videos. That video that we just showed, that one I know is a shorter video. It's only like, I think like 13 minutes total or something. It's kind of on the shorter side, but some of their other ones are like 20 or whatever. But go and subscribe, share, engage, let them know that you're watching. Yeah, this has been, all the videos today have been really especially good. I mean, the first stream we had amazing videos too, obviously, but like there's been like a very polished sheen on all of these videos, and it makes the fact that, yeah, like Sarah was saying, it makes me kind of mad too that they don't have more subscribers. Hopefully we're effing the algorithm enough to help them out.
I mean, yeah. I just wanted to jump in. I'm so sorry. I don't want to like. Somebody asked in the chat. A couple people asked in the chat, and I just wanted to say on the stream. They were like, "Oh, why can't we donate?" And it's because the first time we did this on Kaylin's channel, which is monetized. Right now we're doing this on our new streaming channel, Thanks for Being Here, which is not. So you can't donate to us, and we can't then forward your donations to a charity yet. When more people watch, we could in theory do that and just then have YouTube forward the donations so you can see where they're going. But if we all have patrons, and then I think most of our guests have, or the people we've platformed have patrons. So if there's somebody whose stuff you really like, Patreons, you can go on there and give to them directly, and you just have to follow links in their descriptions. So
yes, everybody sign up to legal.
Anyways, sorry.
Yes. No, I was just saying everybody sign up to Legal Kimchi's Patreon. It's the fairest one to pick for a joke because
yeah, we don't actually like, well, I'm not gonna say we don't need donations because like we're literally all poor, but like
yes,
for this stream we would be donating the proceeds anyways, because I think we all just like feel a little bit weird taking tips for watching other people's videos. So like I don't even know that we will turn on like monetization in that way anyways once we get it, but we might just do the YouTube option where you can set a fundraiser for your streams, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we do have Patreons, which is for our own work, but are all their slots are filling up fast, so
get them while you can.
We're not grifting on the work of other people, but like as long as you come and watch us for a few hours first, and then then it's fine. Then if you're entertained.
And also share this channel around because we want more people viewing the next stream. Like we did it on Kaylin's channel last time, and there was a few more people watching. So yeah, share this channel, like the stream, all that good stuff. Leave comments afterwards.
Yeah, if you could, you're also chatting in the chat. If you could leave a comment in the actual comment section too, it counts that separately as the chat, and so we've put this stream itself into the algorithm, so the more people see it, so that then we can I don't know.
Not the stream or the algorithm like looking at the stream title come up and be like, no F you. How about that?
It's like, screw you. That would be pretty funny. That's great. Yes, help us out. Let's get this growing more and more, and hopefully get more eyes on all these channels. We will, in theory, be back next month. We haven't picked a date yet, but in theory, at some point in December, we'll have another one. But as we're wrapping up and getting ready to go, does anybody have something they want to promote or shout out that they're working on or doing?
A video out on Tuesday.
Yeah, you got
Hey,
one.
that's great.
Yeah.
So everyone's
Is
gonna
that
watch
a-
Mika's video on Tuesday.
Yes.
I might
yeah.
as well. So
Really? Awkward.
All right, double feature that. Though.
we'll
Just
talk
double
about
feature.
that.
We'll watch both.
Coordinate the premiere time.
Yeah, we'll
well,
coordinate.
yeah,
It'll be fine.
I will message you tomorrow and we'll figure that one out.
What about you,
how-
Neil and Sarah?
No, our next release is going to be like early December.
Early December.
We were supposed to be working on a short and simple one, and then it's us. And it's arguably the longest script we've ever written.
Very happy about it because this one is Neil's baby, and for whatever reason, I have got the reputation of like, Sarah, you made another 2-hour one. You made another 2-hour one. Neil, this time.
Yeah, this time, yeah. So that'll be early December, but yeah, at some point as well, I'm spreading the word. I'm dribbling the hype around that I will be releasing a record of music at some point, separate to yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Just Neil.
So I didn't do any of the research on the record. So yeah, that's going to be happening at some point, probably in December as well, because I'm determined to get it out before the end of the year, and it's got lots of other lovely, cool people involved as well from that same big community of Patreons and people who come to chats and things like that. So it's very exciting.
That is exciting.
That's awesome. That's great. I can't wait for that. What about you, Hoots? You got anything in the works?
Also, probably not until early December, if not mid-December. We're hoping not late. I'm scripting a video at the moment. But Kaylin and I released a video a couple of weeks ago that just hit 100,000 views. We're very excited about that. And of course, our podcast, Respect the Dead, where we don't. I work on that every week.
I forgot
And
about her.
I'm supposed to edit the one that's coming out on Monday today.
Oh, right.
So-
Yes.
So hopefully I'll get that to you on time.
You will. I believe in you. Great. And then I have a couple of videos in the works. I'm hoping to get one out before the end of the month and then another one out next month. We'll see how that works out because one of my next scripts is very ambitious. But more immediately, I am having a little like color and chill stream on my own channel tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to hang out and chill and color and chat, that I'll be doing that tomorrow.
Dope.
I'll probably be in pajamas and my cats will probably be running around me. So
nice.
Just trauma and generational chasing each other around the apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Bless my cats, yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for our second stream. This was a lot of fun. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to watch all of those videos in that playlist and subscribe to all those channels. And we'll see you next month, right?
I think so.
So
bye.
Bye.
Bye, chat. We love you.